Does any writer remember off the top of their head what the human ones are?
Yes. Integrating vital.
No. Fran, you're off the hook.
Naive.
All right, Denise.
Cosmopolitan.
Okay, cosmopolitan is one.
Optimistic.
Optimistic.
Naive.
Naive. And the last one is integrating. Because like we did with the coffee exercise, they're natural integrators. Okay, so let's do the list again.
Cosmopolitan.
Naive.
Optimistic.
And integrating. Somebody raise your hand and give me one of those you particularly liked for our NPC here. Yes?
Optimistic.
Okay, optimistic is one. I'm writing this down. Because as the writers all know, if I don't write stuff down, it doesn't exist. Okay, so we've got optimistic. Okay, so then our remaining list is
Cosmopolitan.
naive, Stacy says, and integrating. So give me another one that we're going to use. Naive. Everybody wants to. All right. So we have two quintessentially human traits. Now I want, for the third point on the diamond, I want something that speaks to one of those first two, to either optimistic or naive, but not a synonym of one of those, because it's a different point on the diamond, and not something out in left field, something it could be a different spin on either of those, or something that just kind of speaks to it. And you all are thinking, wow, Dave, that's kind of vague. And congratulations, my writers think that too. All right, we got one.
How about curious?
Yes. Curious, okay. Curious works. Okay, so we've got 3 points on our diamond. So far we've got, our NPC here is optimistic, naive, and curious. And already I'm starting to see some stuff here, because we have a naive but curious guard on the edge of a very dangerous mysterious. I'm liking this already. And as a writer, I can tell you it's very tempting to skip ahead and start doing something with this NPC. But for the purposes of the exercise, let's do one more thing. And often for my fourth point on the diamond, I want something completely orthogonal, something that has nothing to do with any of the first 3 points. And just to review, the first 3 points are optimistic, naive, and curious.
She plays the lute.
I'm sorry, what?
She plays the lute.
She plays the lute. Okay. I'm going to broaden that a little bit into just she's artistic and musical, because realistically, I might not be able to put a lute in her hands. And the whole point is to get this across to the gamer. So, but we can certainly, I could probably pull off artistic though. I might even be able to pull off musical. So we'll do artistic / musical and hedge our bets. Okay, thanks a lot, Fran. The optimistic, naive, curious, and artistic / musical sergeant on the edge of this news. All right, so what we do is we do these things all the time, and
With the faces.
Yeah, with faces, with funny voices, the whole 9 yards. Because I think a lot of us are frustrated thespians. But as you can probably tell, that diamond is a pretty static thing. Those traits are just that, they're traits. And right now, that character is still just standing there on the edge of the mines. There's no dramatic motion there, if you will. So let's fix that. This is where the whiteboard comes in. And these are actual shots from the whiteboard a few weeks ago. And as you can see, you'll notice a couple of things right away. We move from zone to zone quite a bit. You'll probably notice that. You'll notice we like all the colors of the wind. And you'll notice that I have horrible handwriting.
So there's a wavy Amani?
Weary.
All right, before Marty fails to understand any more of my handwriting, let's move on to the next audience participation part. Now we've got our optimistic, naive, curious, and artistic character on the edge of Tenebris Minds. Now we're going to put that character to work. And this is just one way we do this. There are as many different ways to construct a plot as there are plots. But this is one exercise we do that sometimes we get good quests out of. In fact, more often than not, we get good quests out of it, which is why we keep doing it. And So we have our NPC, so yay, first step completed, 10 achievement points. The next step is what I call the flebois, because that's how you say it. But what that stands for is the fear, limitation, block, or weakness that that character has. Now we know some things about the traits, but by and large they're all positive traits. We know that our character is optimistic, naive, and naive could be any of those. Optimistic in extreme could. And then we know that curious, and curious could be an extreme, you know, when taken to extremes, and artistic. But let's get away from the traits. Somebody give me a fear, limitation, block, or weakness, a flebois, that this NPC might have, based on what we know, which is almost nothing. In the back.
Afraid of heights.
Afraid of heights. You have no idea how funny that actually is, because this character, the Tenebrous Minds don't actually start as a hole in the ground. They start as a hole in the side of a canyon, a really big canyon. So our character, and this is pretty good actually. So our character is our optimistic, naive, curious, artistic character is living life 5 feet from her fear in this case, which is. That's kind of interesting, and more to the point, immediately realism Dave talks, well, can we make that work in a game context? And I think we can. We can do something with an NPC that plays on that fear of heights. Alright, so it's gonna be a little tricky though. We have our work cut out for us. Okay, so we have this character. This character is in a position where they're just naturally nervous and scared all the time. The next thing we do... optimistic that she'll see the next day. Yeah, so that works, but it's a very, at this point, you know, that diamond shifts and the diamond gets a little tense, a little bit, you know, optimistic 5 minutes ago was a cheery, happy thing, but now it's, I'm optimistic I'll make it to the next day and I won't accidentally go off that cliff and, that railing looks a little loose. So that's a more tempered optimism. So this character's already getting kind of more interesting. But let's make it interesting to the player. Why does the player care? We've got our guard here on the edge. We know what she's like. We know she's scared of heights. She might be on the edge, both metaphorically and literally. So somebody give me something, a reason for the player